Hello, welcome to Beyond Film School. Happy Sunday. I am going to be talking about feeding the soul today. I hope everyone's having a good weekend. Everyone did something fun. I'm hoping everyone got rest. I have no idea what your week's been like, but we're talking about feeding the soul. And I did a newsletter for those of you that are like my tried and true followers, like full on. You're subscribed to my newsletter and you're making sure that you're getting all the things from me. I sent out an email that was, I guess I feel like when I do videos, when I send out newsletters, I feel like it somehow connects to my life and it is covering the feelings that I'm feeling at the time. So when I sent the newsletter out about feeding your soul, maybe I felt like I was losing myself a little bit. Like you're just getting into the routine over and over and over again, and you're just kind of doing the same things. You're going to set, you're going to sleep, you're going to set, you're going to sleep, and that's it. Like, and if you get into that routine a little bit too much, I feel like we're going to get into like the signs of like why you need to, or when you know you have to start feeding your soul. So it really kind of pertained maybe to my life, and I thought this was a really good topic to talk about in the live stream, so just want to dig a little deeper. So for those of you that are joining me, give me a shout out on the chat. Let me know where you're watching from. Dude, I feel like I haven't done a live stream in a hot minute. Oh my goodness. So why we're addressing this is because like there is a grind to filming, right? You are working like 60 to 80 hours, sometimes more, and it's absolutely insane. For my people who are in the US, we work crazy hours. The hours, for whatever reason, are not going to change because it's all about like the cost analysis versus the I guess it's really weird because it's all about the dollar, unfortunately, in the US. And how many hours can you get out of a crew? How many hours can you get out of the equipment? Because if you really think about it, all these projects that are happening around the world, they have like 8-hour days and 10-hour days, and they have a very strict limit about how many hours we are working on set. The US, no. It does not exist. There are some companies that are out there that are gonna be like, oh, hey, we're going to cap our hours at 14, but even that's 14. My show has a strict 12 and a half hour restriction cutoff. And I'm like, even 12 and a half is like, I'm glad we don't go past 12 and a half, but that's 12 hours and 12 and a half hours of shooting. That's not even including like, the loadout at the end that I have to stay until camera's done downloading and all the people who are loading their gear and stuff like that. And that's not even including the pre-calls, right? So even 12 hours to 12 and a half hours of shooting still equals so many hours for a lot of people that are on set outside of like, your actors may have a 12-hour turnaround, like, and they're in the chair way before we start shooting, right? In the chair, meaning hair and makeup, and they're getting dressed. So it's not always this like, oh, well, we have 10-hour days, because I'm assuming people around the world who have 10-hour days, like, that's not locations, it's not the transportation department, that's not the trucks, so there are still a lot of people outside of just like, set proper who are working way more than 10 hours. And in the US, it's crazy. So we are working a crazy amount of hours, folks, a crazy amount of hours. And I just, when people want to get into film, and I stress this so much in my Set PA classes, anytime I'm talking about working in film, I just want people to know, like, it is not what you think it is. It is not what you think it is. There are so many hours that you're going to be working. And I also stress making sure that you stay grounded to who you are, and feeding your soul is about that, right? Making sure you're doing the things for you that make you happy, that make you feel like you, because I feel like when you were on set for that many hours and you're like giving all your time, all your energy, all your emotions are on set, you're working, and then first of all, like, preparing to get to set. Like, how long is your commute? Making sure you're there on time, and then coming home, how long that takes, and then not having enough time to really do anything for you, but you just want to make sure you're rested to make sure you're there on set for the next day. So that whole process, like, there's not a lot of time for you in there. So it takes a lot of, I guess, there's conscious effort, awareness that this is happening. And sometimes you will get into the routine. You will just be another, I don't want to say it's about like you are another cog in the machine, but filming is going to keep going, whether you are yourself or not, right? So whatever position you're in, filming's going to keep going. If you took a mental health day, you took a day off or whatever, they shot. They went and did the things they needed to do to get whatever scenes they had scheduled for that day. And it doesn't matter if you were there or not, or if you were having a good or bad day. If you were there and then you had a bad day, you were miserable, it's still gonna go, right? The machine is still working, unfortunately, and like nothing shuts down. I mean, if you were like the number one actor and you're like, okay, I can't do the scenes today, they will find something else to shoot. They will figure out who they have in today. Okay, we have this actor and this actor as well. Let's switch over. Let's take that scene. So even if you are a number one actor who is going to be doing all the stuff, they're still going to find a way around it. So the machine, it still keeps going. So it doesn't matter who you are, or, I mean, I've never had this before. I don't know. Maybe you guys have had this where maybe you've worked on something and the director fell ill, or, was there a fill-in? I've never had this where a director was like, okay, I can't come in today. I can't make it. I am sick. And during COVID times, if the director got COVID and it was like the director got COVID and like another producer and I think the top three and like the DP and the director, but it was a movie, they all got COVID, so we went and we shut down. So COVID was a different story. So outside of COVID, there's that, like maybe they shut down and then like they'll like bring it back in a couple days or whatever, or 2 weeks or however long it took to be clear of COVID. Thank God COVID's not a thing anymore. Well, I mean, it still exists, but you know what I mean. But when you're in that routine, you are in the machine and it's literally going to just be, you are cranking out whatever vision, whatever studio thing they have going. It doesn't, and I think that a lot of people are like, I want to get in film. I want to live my dreams. I want to do all the things. I want to like make stories. It takes a long time to get to that point. So I want people to know that it's not instant, and people are like, I want to be a director. Well, like maybe if in your 15, 20, 30 year career, maybe you might get there at year 11 or year 12. So I think it's all about playing the long game and making sure you're staying true to you during that time, so there's a lot of things that people just don't know what they're getting into. And I think that if you don't love the craziness of film, the grind of film, the unglamorous parts about it, you won't last very long. And that's why people quit. And that's one of the things about making sure you are yourself. Because if you're not yourself and you're not enjoying yourself, you can't express yourself, you're not being creative, then you won't last in an industry that will like chew you up and spit you out. Okay? Because filming really does suck the life out of you. And I said this, I came to PA boot camp. PA boot camp came to New Jersey. I think it was in April. Gosh, I think it was last month. Yes, I think it was like maybe a month ago that they came to New Jersey. I stopped by, spoke to the class, and I said, I was like, and I said it very seriously. I was like, filming will suck the life out of you. And all the instructors that were at PA boot camp, they started laughing, and they're laughing because it's absolutely true. And I don't think they were prepared for me to say such a harsh thing to them. And I'm like, hey, like filming will suck the life out of you. So you have to make sure to stay true to you and make sure you do the things that bring you joy, because outside of that, like, you're going to lose yourself. So, and that's how people end up quitting. And they're not expecting filming to be so hard. They're not expecting the film life to be like, wait a second, Another thing I do want to address is, I always talk about how filmmaking is a very, very collaborative process, right? It's creative. It's the most collaborative artistic medium that is out there, right? You have many, many disciplines coming together to make something, but a lot of the times you're not going to be doing the collaborative, the creative, all the lovely things that make certain people like, yes, this is why I got into film the first couple years in your career. You are not going to be that person that is like, straight out the gate being like, okay, yes, let's think of some shots. Let's think about like, let's set this background. You are going to be protecting the shot. You're going to be just starting out doing like orders, food orders, coffee orders, all those things. So it takes a couple years to get to that point where you're like, yes, I'm making decisions. Yes, I'm a leader. And yes, I'm making those creative decisions and stuff like that. So it takes many, many years. And I think the expectation is that you're going to be doing all those creative things straight out the gate. And that's just not the case, unfortunately. And that is very unfortunate for a lot of people to digest when they're like, I didn't get into film to just be a costume shopper. Like, I want to be a costume designer. The only way, and I think that this is, we'll get into some of the things that will help you feed your soul, is when you're starting on those short films, you wrote a 3-page script, 5-page script, or those micro shorts when you those very, very small films that you wrote, and then you make those on the weekends, and that's what gets that, like, the creativity going and all that. So I think those side projects are really, really great to do when you are on those bigger things that you're like, I'm waiting for the bigger world, but in the meantime, I'm going to write this thing. I'm going to try this idea out. I'm going to try being a director for the first time. So I'm telling you, like, short films in the indie world is very, very, people don't take advantage of it as much, and people are like, oh, there's no money in it there, but they serve the purpose. Okay, a lot of people got their start because of those short films and because of the indie world. So everyone likes to say, like, well, I'm not working on the big budget thing, therefore it's not worth it. I don't want to hear it, guys. I don't want to hear it. I can't talk to people who are like, I don't want to do it because it's not this big budget thing. It's all in the short films. It's like, I wouldn't be the AD I am today if it wasn't for the independent world. It wasn't for short films. Like, I literally got my first free AD, assistant director gig, on a 3-day free gig. It was up in the Catskills, and my friend was making this movie, and he's like, hey, won't you be the AD? And I was like, fuck yes, I will. And then after that, I got paid. But then after that, it was like another, couple day short film, another short film. And then I got, like, to longer short films. And then finally bridging the gap from those short films to getting my first feature, and then another feature. So it's all like, working your way up to, and everyone always wants to go hard, like, straight out the gate, and it's just not realistic, guys. It's not realistic. So I'm going to say hi to folks in the chat. I'm going to take a breath for a second. Okay, Obi-Wan, thank you for being here. I like my number one, like, live stream viewer, Obi-Wan Martin. Chad, welcome back. I haven't seen you or heard, or like, I've seen you. That's, like, weird. If I feel like it's since I see the name on the screen, like, I feel like I'm seeing you in a weird way because you're, like, in the chat. So, hello, Amanda. Shout out to Amanda. Yo, Amanda's killing it. Okay, first of all, I want to say, like, Amanda is a channel member in Priority. She is an online, Set PA Training Beyond Film School alumni. So she's in it, and also she has taken the advice on these resumes. She's totally taken advantage of these live streams, all the advice that we give on here, and she is working on set, like, a lot. And also working, like, a part-time job. Not to blow up your spot, Amanda, not to give, like, everyone details about your life, but, like, she's working a lot, and I feel like she's gonna be making some major decisions very, very soon. So shout out to Amanda for doing all the hard work, because she has not stopped. Like, it's been something that she's been wanting to go after, and she's really, like, going after it. So shout out to Amanda. And Obi-Wan, that was one of the best things for my college experience. A person who ran our course worked under Roger Corman in Cornamera. Learning the B-movie style of working helped me a lot. Yo, for real, right? I feel like when we get used to, like, the big budget ways, like, and you can tell when you work with certain people who are, like, used to the big budget way of, like, having all these big things and big crews and all this equipment, and they have everything at their disposal, and they're used to all that money and all that time, and then they go back to and then they try to, like, pick up, like, an indie tier movie, and they're like, well, we would have. It's like, we don't. We don't have these things. We don't have this amount of people, and, like, there's that, they have to have that flexibility, that adjustment, right? They have to adjust to the situation. A lot of people, when they go big, they can't go back to the indie world. So, like, learning small and going big is, like, I feel like the best way. Joe Pearson, feeding your soul, God still comes first. I feel like not to separate the whole God from the soul, because I feel like when people say soul, they immediately think that I'm gonna go the religious route, and I know that the soul is because people who are atheists, right? I feel like they still have an identity, right? They're still, like, you can't say, I mean, I don't know, maybe, is anyone atheist? Can you speak upon this? I don't know, like, do atheists believe that there is a soul? Because it's, like, your conscious mind and, like, the person you are, like, because you are not your thoughts. There's like, a lot going on when it comes to your soul, and, like, if you want to separate that from religion. But I feel like I'm more on the soul aspect as far as, like, you as a person, you as who you are, not in terms of God. Not trying to go the God route, unfortunately, George, but I feel like I'm here with you. I'm here with you. Obi-Wan, if that works for you, George, good for you, but it doesn't for exactly. So I don't want to be like God, but it's all about, like, feeding your soul it's like who you are and like you as a person, finding your identity, the person that like you are, not necessarily like who God wants you to be. And I'm not going to get into that whole God thing. I'm going to like just like extract from that. I have a question. Would doing theater work and doing plays be the best way to start gaining experience for an acting career? So for acting, yes, 100%. But I will say this, Mega Johnny's 89, is that theater acting and working and like working in film and acting for the camera, two very different things, because the discipline of the subtleties that it takes to act for the camera is very, very different than working in theater. Because in theater everything is big, the expressions are big, because you're playing to the back of the house as an actor in theater, right? But in film you're playing to the camera because the camera is your audience. So there is a very, very big difference to acting in a theater and plays and then versus camera, because you can tell when theater actors come for the first time and they're acting for the camera and you're like, whoa, that's really big. Because remember, you have a camera in your face or maybe like a couple feet away from you, and your expressions have to dial down a little bit when it comes to working for the camera in film. Another thing with I think they just forget that they have to bring it down, and I think that's very, very hard. Not to say that you don't have the discipline to, you know, bring it down when you are working for a camera, but it is something that where it's all about the nuances, it's about the subtleties, and it's about holding back, because I think in theater you like let it out and you're like letting out that full emotions, but in film and TV, when you're working to the camera, it's about the emotions that you can hold in and that you can portray, that you're feeling it, but you're not letting it pour out. That was like a mini like masterclass on like acting, and I'm not an actor, but I know a lot about it. But okay, we're gonna move on. All right, so I'm gonna get into the signs that you need to feed your soul, guys. So signs you need to feed the soul. Are you stressed? Now, when people are talking about being stressed and this chronic stress, light stress, like being stressed is a lot of things to a lot of different people. I feel like it's very, it's interpreted many different ways for different folk out there, but if you're stressed, if you have anxiety, you're worried, if you're like, oh my God, like you feel a weight on your shoulders, you're like, this is too much, this is like stressing me out. Like, not to use a word to describe a word, but if you feel stressed, and maybe after a long day, maybe it was chaotic on set, maybe there were a lot of hours, a lot of moving parts, you get home, you get some rest, you got those hopefully 6-7 hours of sleep, then you wake up in the morning and you still feel stressed. Like you're still like, holy crap, like you haven't, like there is a buildable element to stress, right? Because sometimes it just doesn't go away. Sometimes you can learn how to manage your stress. But if you've gotten to the point where like, I've done other things to manage my stress, but you're still waking up stressed, this is a way that it's like, okay, what am I doing wrong? What is it that is, I need to do to get rid of this stress? It's like, these might be, that is like the first sign of like you are stressed like all the time, and it's building and building and building, and you're like, I need to just like not do nothing, not do anything for a number of days at a time. I just sit on the beach with a book and read or something. I don't know. So stress is like the number one way that you are like, I need to feed my soul. I need to do something for me, right? Feeling overwhelmed. Now feeling overwhelmed is, if you feel overwhelmed over and over and over, that does lead to stress. So like these are kind of like all connected in a weird way, but this is, these are signs. But you can feel overwhelmed and not feel stressed. Does that make sense? You can feel overwhelmed, but it hasn't reached the stress point. So if you feel overwhelmed but not stressed, still this might be a sign you're like, okay, maybe it's time to just like take some time for me. Unexplained sadness or depression. Now, this is something that maybe people, like, I feel like I connect with, because I feel like I'm pretty good at managing my stress and not have things get to me personally, not feeling overwhelmed, taking things at a certain pace, certain times, trying to deal with one problem at a time. But unexplained sadness or depression is like, why am I miserable right now? And you're like, I am miserable. I'm not sure why. That might be a really good indication that it's like, you need to take some time. Like, you need to do the things that bring you some happiness and some joy. So unexplained sadness or depression, people are like, why am I sad right now? I have no idea. It's like your body telling you that you need to take a step back. Okay, feeling like you have to do something drastic to switch things up. Now, this is something that it's like, I'm sure you guys have like heard the midlife crisis, the quarter life crisis, and there's a reason for that, because there is an expectation for some reason in society now that you should be at a certain mark in your life or a certain stage. You should be accomplishing certain things by a certain age. And some people are like, oh my goodness, I haven't had kids yet. I haven't bought that house yet. I don't have that fancy car that I always wanted. These are all stupid things that apparently this is success, and these are, just because a majority of the people have decided to do that doesn't mean it's right for you, right? Like buying a house right now, I'd be like, oh my God. Like, yes, I want to buy a house online, but buying a house right now would make me crazy. Like, my friend just bought a house, and the process of it, and like my sister has, my parents have, and it's like the whole process, like looking at hundreds of houses is not my ideal like weekend after weekend, because like you are looking at houses for hours and hours and hours. You have to go and see them, then you see them, then you're disappointed, then you like a house, and then like, no, we don't want it, your bidding is not high, and all of these things, like some of the things that we are pushed to achieve are ridiculous. Okay, and I want people to make sure that you are defining your own success, the things that you want to do. If you don't want to buy a house, if you don't want to have kids, if you don't want to be married, all these like life milestones that people are expecting you to achieve at a certain age, you don't have to do them. You are defining your own life. Live your life. And this is one of the things that really get people, because they end up doing the things that someone else expects them to do. And it's not in their plan. You're like, well, I think I'm supposed to go to college because everyone goes to college. Like, if college is not your thing, if you cannot wait to get out of school, like when you're in high school and you're like, but I'm supposed to go to college. Is that right for you? Who knows? Maybe you got to take a gap year. You got to travel for a while, and like you will find yourself in traveling. There's a reason why people find themselves traveling, guys. I'm just saying. So when you're like in that realm of like, I need to do something, I need to switch things up. That is that your, I guess it's your existential crisis, and that's like that really volatile portion of your life where you're like, I cannot continue on the path that I'm on right now. Therefore, I need to just stop and then reset in a very drastic way. And that's why people like, when you're like, I'm pretty sure you've heard of those guys who are like 45 years old or they're 50 and they end up buying like a Lamborghini because it's like they've always wanted one since they were a kid. Well, that's because they were like forced into a lifestyle that like society had put them into a box, and like, you are expected to do this. You have to, and like they didn't really get that toy, or they didn't really get that thing they really wanted. It might have been stupid for, them, but that's what they really wanted, right? And that's why like, there's so many things that was the first example I could think of. Like, what's a midlife crisis for a woman? They like, it's like the eat, pray, love, right? They go and like, they spend like 2 years like traveling solo or something. Like, that's another way of like, you are always in the grind of the same routine every day. And they're like, I need to go and like live in a country that I've never been before. So when you're in the mood to do something drastic, that is a sign that you're like, okay, this is the moment. And usually those drastic moments are the big signs of like, you're not stopping it. You are going down a road that is, you can't go in the other direction. So another way is lack of energy, passion, motivation, enthusiasm, where you are just going through the day, you're just getting by, you're just surviving. You're just like, I'm just gonna make sure to just get by and go through whatever they want me to do on set, whatever they want me to, do, I'll just do it. You're not putting any pep in your step. There's no urgency. You're like, I'm going to get to it when I get to it, and that's it. So when you have a lack of energy, passion, or motivation, you're like, I'll do it anyways. That's a sign that you're like, you need to get that life back into you. Low levels of emotions or feeling numb. This is another thing where you're just floating through life. You're just floating through them days. Just like it's like the lack of energy, passion, where it's at that point where you're just indifferent. You're not angry about anything. You're done fighting. You've just like submit to the process, and you're just like, okay, this is what my life is now, right? Well, there's like, I'm gonna go to. So if these are any of the signs that you're like, I think I feel some of these sometimes, and this doesn't have to necessarily be when you're working on set, this is gonna just really like anytime, but I feel like sometimes when you're working in film, since you're working 12, 14-hour days all the time, people in film find out what they really want quicker because they're forced into this stressful environment, and they're like, whoa, and it hits them like a ton of bricks, and then this comes on a little bit faster than someone who might be working in like a 9 to 5 because they're like, oh, I'm getting good money, I have like a steady gig, I feel secure, and it's like it takes a while for that to kind of, this whole transition of like, wait, is this right for me? I feel like with film, everything's kind of fast, so this is going to hit you fast. So if you feel any of these things, might be the signs of like, I need to do something to bring me joy. I'm going to go to the chat really quick. Oh man, okay. If that works, okay, but I have a question. Would doing theater work, okay, good, got that question. Have souls, okay. Lots of actors in the UK start out in theater. It can help with dialect and diction, movement, and expression. I agree. A lot of lovely, great actors come out of the UK, and they have different training there, but I will say, like, they do keep in mind, like, who they're playing to, because you just know. If I may, sir, Christopher Lee had addressed your question in an interview years ago. Oh, okay, let's see. God, there's this whole thing, even if it was sleeping on the stage floor. The unexplained sadness, aka melancholy, can really screw with your head. This is true. The melancholy of it all, you're like, I don't like when I'm like that. It's like the worst when you don't feel anything. It's just like, it's nothing, like something that would make me feel angry is not making me feel angry, and I'm not willing to fight for something. Like when something upsets me and I'm like, I don't care, that's just like, that's not a good sign for me. All right. So how do you feed your soul? What are some things that bring you joy? Not like happiness is a weird expectation. Now, happiness is this thing that people are like, I want to be happy, or this thing's going to make me happy. And I think happiness and joy are very different things. And I don't know how people feel about it, because I feel like with happiness, happiness is used, it's like really, really overused when it comes to like feeling happy. Now, I think for me, when I go through my day-to-day, I don't think about like what's gonna make me happy. And I don't think about like, this car is gonna make me happy, or if I do this, I read this book, it's gonna make me happy. I don't think in terms of happiness, and I think a lot of people do. And I think everyone's concerned about being happy, but not concerned with like, how do I grow from this? What am I gonna learn? What am I grateful for? There's like deeper things, because I feel like happiness is like this surface level thing, and joy is a deeper thing where something just makes you feel alive, right? Joy is what brings you joy. And for me, it could be learning something new. When I learn something new, it does bring me joy. If you are with if you're with that group of friends that like make you laugh for hours on end, that is, you're feeling that joy. It's like deep seated. You're like, yes, this makes me feel so much. And it's more than just happiness, as I feel like happiness is just like this shallow emotion in a weird way. So what are the things that make you feel grateful? What are the things that make you feel grateful to be alive? Grateful in the terms of like, if without this thing, I would feel less than. For me, I try to do a daily gratitude, making sure that I'm grateful to be alive. I am living this life. I have loved ones and friends. I have the job that I interviewed for and got, and I guess I competed for, and whatever. I have a career that I've fought for a very long time. So I'm very, very grateful for those things. So when you get that feeling of gratitude, it usually stomps out the complaints that you might have about life. And I think that a lot of people are like, yes, but I don't have this. And I feel like I try and focus on the things that I do have, right? And I think that's where a lot of people go wrong. And I hate saying go wrong, but when they're focusing on the wrong things, it's but I don't have this. I don't have this amount of money to do this. It's what do you have? You can always be grateful for something. And I think that gratitude is just not had enough with a lot of people who are on set, because they are focused on what went wrong in the day, what are the problems that happened, who can they blame, and what can they complain about. And when people are complaining, they're like, oh my God, I want to complain to this person, this person, this person, and they keep going to another person to complain about the same thing, then another person. It literally happened to me the other day where one of my people I work with, they were just like, they were so distracted about the complaint and the blame game in their head. They were like going person to person to person, and they weren't progressing in the day. And I was like, yo, we gotta shoot, bro. We gotta roll. So like, making sure that you are focused on the things that you are grateful for. What are the things that bring you joy, and what are the things that you are grateful for? Those are two things that will help in the process of making sure that you are feeding your soul, feeding who you are, and getting you close to like your values, what you stand for. How can you express those things? Because when I express gratitude, just even if I'm by myself within my own, even like in my little office, I'm talking about like what I'm grateful for, or I'm journaling or whatever. Feeling that gratitude is very, very important to me, because it's like, I don't want to focus on the things that I don't have or that I'm lacking. And I try not to think about the things I'm lacking, to be honest with you. Like, there are so many things I guess I could want. Like, yes, I write down my goals. I think about what I want for the future and all that, but I don't focus on the things I don't have. Okay. And some of the things that you need to be around when it comes to like that moment of like, I don't feel like myself, you need to be around nature. Go to the beach. If it doesn't have to be summer, you can just go in the winter. Actually, being on the beach in the wintertime is like kind of very like therapeutic, and it's a very interesting I don't know, it's an interesting scenario of like being on the beach and listening to the water in the cold. It's interesting. It's very like, just saying, I would recommend if you're near a beach somewhere. But like, if you're there at nighttime and you're just like taking in the stars and the moon, being around nature, going hiking, and just enjoying your environment. Just enjoying your environment. Getting out of the city if you live in the city. Being around trees. Going to the park. Being on grass. Looking at the sky. Like all these things that will just be around you to take you out of like social media. Take you out of getting away from the TV screen. And it's funny because we work in entertainment, right? We work in entertainment and they're like, stop watching TV. Just don't rot on the couch when you have your weekend, right? When you have that rest time, you have that rest period, and you like sit in front of Netflix. But if it brings you joy to eat like your favorite meal and watch your favorite show, I condone this act. But if you can get outside and be in nature and go to the park and, move your body and just like, be in fresh air, do it. These are some of the things that you should be doing. Like, if you feel like you're not yourself, I feel like for whatever reason, when you get close to nature, you feel more connected to the world around you. And one thing that will get you disconnected is like, you are on social media all the time, and it's really hard in the era that we're in now with social media, because social media is changing and it's growing, and there's another app and there's another thing you can use, another platform. And there are more and more things to keep up with. And you're like, you are seeing the curated world that they want you to see, right? So you are seeing certain things that are their best. You're not seeing all these like vulnerable moments. You're not seeing the hardships they did to get there. So everyone's putting their best face forward on social media. And I think when you see that someone's achieving their best and they're like, you're like, oh, I am not measuring up, and that makes you feel less than. Like, you are feeling like you are lacking more. Like, and then you end up wanting more, and then it's like the whole consumerism, materialistic, and all that stuff. You are going down this route of like this, you are believing this fictitious world that someone else has put up on their social media, and you're trying to measure up to an expectation that doesn't really exist, because they're going through trials and tribulations that you just don't know about, and they're just putting their best selves forward. So social media and being online all the time is that will also mess with your mind and think that you are not achieving certain things that you need to achieve. Again, like I said in the beginning, like you're trying to like measure up to like some fictitious thing that everyone's like, oh God, well, I'm successful because of this, and therefore if you don't have this, then you are not successful. Remember, you have to define your own success. You have to do it yourself. Define your own success. And with being around nature and how that brings you close to who you are, another thing that brings you closer to who you are as a human and yourself is creativity. Now, I know some people are like, I am not that creative. I'm not creative. And I think that a lot of people like to believe they're not, but as humans, we are. Like, there's a reason why there's art classes and kids like to draw and they like to play with colors and paint, because as you are like, I guess you're born creative because you come out and as a kid you like to play with colors and draw and do like all these things that are creative. And then we are in an environment that has shaped you in a way to make you think that you're not creative. Even if you think you're not good. And that's the thing, that when someone's like, I'm not creative, because it's like, because you can't draw or because you can't paint, you're like, I'm not creative. Well, you don't have to necessarily be good at it or be an expert at it. Like, no one's saying you have to do a portrait of like, a whole family and look like, do all these like crazy like portraits of these master painters. Like, we all know like Van Gogh and all the like, Rembrandts or whatever, like they're geniuses at what they did. But it doesn't mean that you cannot be creative, and there's like that level of, am I good enough in this thing? Whether or not you think you're good at it or not, you are still a creative being. Human beings are creative. And I can't stress that enough. So creativity is something that you can do to get you closer to who you are. And a lot of people are like, oh, I'm not really creative because I can't do this. But there are ways that people are creative in all different types of mediums. It doesn't have to be like the visual arts. It could be like cooking, gardening. It could be like all these things. So I think certain activities, let's think about certain activities. It could be exercise, right? Certain sports you like to play, running, swimming, walking, like moving your body a certain way, that feeds your soul. Taking a moment to move your body, right? Being in nature, going to the park, being in things around you that make you feel like closer to the earth and the environment around you. Could be reading, could be writing, could be journaling, could be like scrapbooking. Some people like to, I don't know, my niece, she reads like 150 books a year. It's crazy. But like organizing your books in a certain way, or organization is also a creative thing. Don't get me wrong, like all that behind me, like that is certainly like put in a certain way, but it's organized in a certain way. That's creativity to me. So like cooking, cleaning for me is also another way that brings me closer to who I am, because when I'm in a clean environment, I feel like I am more myself, and I feel a little bit more, I guess, clear in my mind when things are cleaned. It's really weird. If things like cluttered in front of me, I'm like, okay, that's a little bit too much. So that I feel clean, like cleanliness is another thing. Could be like all different types of sports, all different types of things that you can do. There's so many activities. And creativity, organization, being around in the space around you, nature, all of that helps to bring you back to who you are. Now, look, some of the things I do to feed my soul, and we're going to talk about like getting it on a daily basis, because this is where people go wrong, is that they think that they will just be a cog in the machine. They will fall in line for months at a time, and then, okay, I'm going to take my vacation. I'm going to take my week vacation twice a year. First of all, that's not enough. And I know that in Europe and all that, you guys get more weeks of vacation. You need to do it like certain things, small things every day, or at least every weekend, that you can feel closer to who you are. Some of the things I do is I exercise. It could be running. It could be making sure I do my push-ups. First of all, like if I'm in physical pain, and I know that the wear and tear on your body that happens because you work in film, like it does happen to me. So if I don't exercise every day, or at least 3 to 4 times a week, then I am like, my body is shot. And when my body is shot, I can't get through the workday, and then I'm sore when I'm home, and I'm more and more achy, and that makes me feel less like me. If I feel like I can't get through a shooting day without any pain, that for me, I feel like I'm not being myself. So exercise is one big thing. And I'm not talking about exercise of like, I exercise like an hour a day, I wake up at 4 a.m. No, I'm not talking about like the 4 a.m. club. I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about like exercise like that. Like literally exercise is, I have 10 to 12 minutes of, some like weight, like dumbbell type stuff. I make sure I do my push-ups, because push-ups are the one thing for me that takes away my lower back pain. It's that core workout that I have. If I'm not doing push-ups, my lower back will hurt. I've learned this the hard way. So exercise is one thing that helps. And I know some people are like, yeah, but I can't do push-ups, or I'm not really into exercising. Moving your body makes you feel better. It is a proven thing. It will make you feel better, just moving around. Now, also, if I can't really exercise in the traditional sense, stretching. Moving around a little bit, making sure that I stretch, making sure that my body feels good enough to get through, the next day and the next day. So exercise is one thing for me that I make sure I do at least on a 5, 4 or 5 out of 7 day of a week type basis. So another thing is cleaning, making sure that like things stay organized around me. Making my bed every day makes me feel me, because if I don't make my bed, I don't feel like myself. And I know there are some people who are like, I do not touch my bed after I get out of it. But for the people who make their bed, please let me know. Let me know if you make your bed every day, because for me, it is something I have to do. I have to do it to make sure that I feel whole, because if I come home at the end of the night and my bed isn't made, I feel kind of weird. And that weirdness is like, oh, that's not me. So if I didn't take the discipline every day to do that, then I'm like, okay, that's not who I am. That's not me. So reading is also another way. There was a moment maybe, a couple years ago where I thought, I was like, I do love reading, but I would have a book for like a year and some change trying to finish it, and I would never finish this book. So I like made the decision, like, I love learning and I love the fact that I can read, because I used, like, as a kid, I had trouble reading. So when I learned how to read properly and like actually read at a normal speed, like I read pretty slow, but a normal speed as in like I can read at a decent pace. Like when I wasn't doing it, I didn't feel like right about it, because I wasn't learning, or I wasn't like expanding my brain or whatever. So I feel like when I read things, I can process certain things. Like I am, like, for some reason, the way I learn, if I see the words, I feel like I'm processing a certain information and I am gaining information and I am learning. And I've always loved to learn. So for me, reading is one way to do that. But like people who are like listening to audiobooks, and sometimes I do that because I have a crazy amount of commuting hours to get to set. Especially the set that we're working in currently, it's like 2 hours away. It's an hour and a half for drive away. I mean, it's in the boroughs, but like rush hour traffic is like no joke, guys. So audiobooks I do listen to, but it's for whatever reason, when I'm listening to something, I don't process information the same way as if I'm actually reading a book or reading pages or information on a page. So for me, reading is one big thing that makes me feel like me. So if I am not reading, something is wrong, right? So I try to read every day. Even if it is for 10, 15 minutes, even if I have, I'm waking up maybe an hour before I have to leave. Half hour of that is like showering, getting ready to get out the door. That half hour is like I have my coffee, I'm going to have 10 minutes of reading, and then 10 minutes of working out, and then like all the minutes in between trying to like get me ready for the day and try not to be late. So I'm trying to like make sure I read on a daily basis. I also try reading at lunchtime. Sometimes I don't read at lunch and I'm writing, and that's another thing that I love doing is writing. So writing could be like the blog that I have on Beyond Film School. It could be like journaling. Also, I am trying to write this networking book. So like that, writing a book is very hard. So I know that like if I put it off, if I don't do something every day, even if it's 100 words a day, and that's not a lot. That's like maybe 3-4 sentences, maybe. If I don't have at least 100 words a day, a couple of minutes of me like writing, then I know that I won't feel right. So that is something that also helps me feel like me, is reading and writing for sure. Also Beyond Film School, like me doing this live stream, I love doing this stuff because like there's people, there's comments, there's questions I can help with, and there's like I feel like I'm connecting with people and I'm helping someone out some way. So this is another thing, Beyond Film School, making these videos, trying to figure out like that whole like marketing plan and making new projects, like the film challenge that I'm going to be doing this summer, like all of these things that like are these are all things that are happening outside of my work life of being on set. These are all the things happening outside. So outside of that. So there's just a lot of things that I do that help me feel like me, because if I don't start doing those things, then I know I feel a little less like me. And when I feel less like me, I feel that lack of emotion, that lack of motivation, or I am miserable on set, and I'm not really tapping into the gratitude like I should be. So I start to lose myself a little bit. Now, I want to talk about discipline, because all of that takes discipline, and it's really weird because some people are like, oh, discipline, if I really like it, then it doesn't take that much to do it, right? If I like the certain things that I'm doing, then it shouldn't be like forced, right? I shouldn't have to force myself to do it. And I don't think that's actually true, because like when you're tired or you want to keep sleeping, like I know I would rather stay in bed than make sure I wake up, and like sometimes I wake up, I don't want to exercise, but I know if I don't, I'm gonna feel like crap. And I know I'm always going to feel better after I do it, right? So discipline this is for me, like, I can't stress this enough. And I know some of you guys who've watched Obi-Wan and Amanda, you've probably heard me say this multiple times in other streams. Discipline is where it's at. Like, discipline keeps you going. It was the number one thing, because like it leads to like being persistent and being confident. Like, discipline is the thing that really defines me as a person. Like, I feel if I'm not disciplined, that's not who I am. So like, discipline, it takes discipline for me to wake up, make sure I'm waking up every morning to, read and exercise, even if it is for 10 minutes each, right? It takes discipline to make sure that I write every day. And I do either I write in the morning or I write on my lunch break, and then also it's like, I kind of switch it off, really. Like, sometimes I write in the morning and then read on my lunch break, or I switch it off, or sometimes I divide the time. Like, sometimes I write a few minutes and then I read a few minutes in the morning, and then I do the same thing on my lunch break on set. And some people are like, Amber, you're absolutely crazy reading a book on set at lunchtime. How can you do that? I feel like I am recharged. I'm taken to another world. I am recharging. I'm thinking about other things other than like the stress of the day. Like, it helps me get ready for the other half. And it helps me feel like I'm doing something for me. Like, because when I'm working on set as an AD, I'm working for the studio, I'm working for that show, I'm working for the first AD who I'm working under. Like, I'm working for them. But when I'm working on my book and when I'm reading or something, I'm doing those things for me. And it takes discipline to do that. And it's really weird, because I really can't stress the argument enough of like, well, if I really wanted to do it, I would just do it. It does not work that way, because sometimes if you're tired and you're not motivated, you're not going to do the thing. So just making sure that you implement those things every day, making sure that you do clean every day. If you love cleaning, you love a clean apartment, do it every day. Tidy up, take a few minutes every day. I don't know how everyone feels about discipline. Okay, I don't know how everyone feels about discipline. What are some things that you do that make you feel like you? What are some of the things that you guys do? I mean, for me, I feel like reading, writing, cleaning, and exercising is pretty, like, nothing really special about that. I don't know if it's like, that's like special. I'm not sure. But I feel like I do like just common things. Like, I read, write, and exercise. There's nothing really. So people were like, oh, you're exercising? I'm like, okay, I'm going to go. Oh, thank you. I'm grateful for being on film school, Amber, and the people I've met through here. Thank you, Obi-Wan. Thank you. Yes, fuck yes. I told Amber a while back that she reminds me of Abby. Oh yeah, and so yeah, she had to look that up, and she was shocked. Yeah, this is true. Thanks, Dorit. I remember that live stream. For acting kids, look for college film courses at the moment, even though they are finishing up for the semester. People are prepping their final year projects. This is true. That is something that a lot of people don't tap into. When it comes to like, what can I work on? Work on as many thesis films. A lot of people are doing their like short film projects for the end of the year. Like so that's a very, very good tip. So definitely, yes, Obi-Wan, that is very, very good advice. All right, Amanda, I had a bad day recently. 2-week shoot for a 6-episode show. We ran into some problems with lockups because I know alternate NYC subway routes. I mentioned it on Walkie and it got a thumbs up in the text. So that's good. That's what I'm saying. Like, sometimes people are just afraid to like suggest certain things and open their mouths and be like, if I say something, will I get in trouble? Suggestions, problem solving. Like, sometimes it just, you just gotta do it. You know what I mean? Just like say, so just speak up. Sometimes you just have to speak up. And that takes like courage to do that, especially in an environment where you're like, I'm just a PA, which also you are the foundation of film. I'm just saying, I hope anyone doesn't say like they're just a PA. I have another question. What would you say is the best route to becoming a film reporter or film insider? Oh, you're like trades? This is PR. PR is a different world, right? You're trying to be like film reporter. It's someone like, you gotta like get into like making sure that you're following the trades. First of all, I don't know if you are following like Hollywood Reporter and Variety, Deadline, all those. And it's usually like those types of job, like you would be working for those companies basically, and PR companies. Not to say like, I'm trying to think like film reporter. Like what Mega Giants, like what are you thinking? Like what, I feel like you gotta maybe get a little more specific probably. a film reporter or film insider, like, are you talking about like not TMZ? Is that crazy? I think the trades, like Variety, Hollywood Reporter, and Deadline. Are you thinking like that, or are you thinking like TMZ type shit? Because that's a whole, become an intern for one of these places. That would be the really good way to do it. Okay, Patrick Howley. Yeah, I'm pretty undisciplined. This are the things, like, I listen to a lot of like motivational things where they talk about discipline, because I just want to be reminded about being disciplined, right? And being disciplined, I think people get overwhelmed by the thought of discipline, because you're like, oh God, I have to do the things that I don't want to do, right? And when people think that, they are thinking that I'm going to have this life of like being miserable and doing things I don't want to do, right? But it's weird when it comes to discipline and doing the things you don't want to do at the time, right? Because like if I regularly like exercising, then it's okay, right? Because you know you like it. You know you like the thing. It's just taking that extra step to make sure you do it every day, right? Or however many times a week you want to do it. But discipline is about all the small decisions you make each day. So some people are like dieting and exercise are very, very hard for some people, or they can't resist the addiction to sugar, or, you know, those things you shouldn't be eating, right? People, when they look at me, they're like, oh my God, you're gluten-free. How do you do this? I'm like, well, when the doctor told me what could happen down the line, that I could get like all these types of cancers and other autoimmune diseases, that if I don't adhere to a gluten-free diet, then it's like, I have no problem with not eating bread, you know, or not eating certain gluten, not eating things with gluten. So like, I know that maybe for me, I like rationalize a lot of things. That's how I like figure out the habits, and like it's all about a logic game. If you speak to my logic, I can really I can make it happen. But it's all about the small decisions you make every day. Like, me making my bed is not a huge deal when you think about it, right? It's like, what is the big deal about making your bed? But when you think about like how, if my bed isn't made, how it makes me feel at the end of the night, with that feeling of like exhaustion, or like, oh, now I'm not comfortable in my bed because I didn't make my bed. It's like, it's way bigger, but the 30 seconds or that minute it takes to make the bed isn't that huge of a deal, right? Some people are like, oh, I don't want to do that. It doesn't take that much effort. And I challenge you guys to time the things that you don't like to do. Like, for example, if people are like, I don't want to do push-ups, but I want to be fit, right? I want to do push-ups. So time it out. Do 10 push-ups. They could be like, you know, on different levels. They don't have to be like full on, like, you know, crazy. I mean, I do full on like standard push-ups, but you don't have to do those. You can do whatever push-up type you want, right? You can do whatever level that you're at. Do 10 of them. Time it out. It takes 30 seconds, not even, to do 10, right? 30 seconds. Out of all the seconds of your day, you're taking 30 seconds to just do 10. And some people are like, oh, I can't do them. So start with one. Start with one push-up. That takes literally like 3 seconds, right? So it's all about the small decisions you make every day. And when you are timing out the certain things, like, for example, I think with when people are like, oh, decluttering or tidying up, it takes so many minutes to do the dishes, or, I don't know, tidying up their kitchen or vacuuming. It's like, if I were to vacuum my whole house right now, it would take a lot. But if I did a room a day, it would take 2 or 3 minutes, right? If you think about breaking it down to small little bits, it's way more digestible. And you're like, oh, I'm not really doing that much, but I am a little bit happier now that I've done them, right? So if even when I think about, you know, writing every day. Now, when I did The Artist's Way during the pandemic, I read the book The Artist's Way, and it's like right there. It's like The Artist's Way right there. Like, it really changed who I was as a person, because like they had a writing exercise, and she was like, you write every day, 3 pages a day. Doesn't matter what you're writing, as long as you write 3 pages a day. Those 3 pages on paper, like you are decluttering your mind. You're getting it on the page. A lot of the weight on your shoulders, like for whatever reason, it gets released. And then after that, I was like, oh, this is only a half hour a day. Those 3 pages, I'm like, 3 pages a day? Like, I would journal throughout my life. I have like all those journals right there, like through all like years and years ago. Like, I would always journal, but I would journal like once a month, or like maybe like once every 2 weeks, or getting in the habit of writing every day was a lot when I did the Artist's Way exercises. It's like a 12-week exercise, right? It's like a 12-week thing, the artist way. And every week you have different things you can write or whatever, but like you have to write at least your 3 pages every single day. It doesn't matter what you're writing. And I was like, okay, that is a lot. But then when you do it, you're like, I feel way better. And then looking at my calendar, in a weird way, I was rewarding myself because I would put like one of those, I had like a sheet of stickers and I would use those star stickers. I would put a sticker on my calendar every day that I got and that I did my 3 pages that day. So I was like rewarding myself. But also when you look back to your thoughts and you're like, wow, I'm really glad I did this thing. So it's those small decisions every day. Oh, and even I was going to say about dieting and stuff, like I have gained weight during the strike. I don't like that I've gained weight. And I'm like, what's happening? Because I'm used to like when you're working on set for so many hours and you're doing like 12, 15, 20,000 steps every day, you're like using that energy. Therefore, your eating habits are like, you're fueling yourself to get through the day. So then when you go from like nothing and then you're like, okay, I'm living at home now. And then I have to like make sure I'm getting 8,000 steps at the very bare minimum going for like runs or whatever. And then I from like Thanksgiving to like March something, I didn't run at all. I was like, I don't know what was happening. So like I gained weight and now I'm like, every time I'm like, I'm hungry. But I'm like, now I'm thinking like, why am I hungry? What am I going to eat now to make sure that I am just fueled and I'm not like trying to get into that whole like processed things and carbs. And I'm like, it's all about every small decision you make. It's not about the day. It's not about like the week or the year or the month. It's about like, what are you doing at this moment right now, the small decisions you're making at this moment. It's all about the smaller things that get you to the bigger things. So discipline's a real big part of this, doing the things that you like to do. But sometimes, like for example, this is a really good thing, like trying to plan a trip. I'm trying to plan a trip after the show that I'm on wraps, and it takes time and discipline to make sure like I'm doing the research for these flights. I'm doing the research for like what city do I want to go to, or what Airbnb do I need to go to, what type of town it takes the discipline to actually go out and do the research to figure that out. Or I could just be like, okay, I'm going to give all this money to this company and they're going to plan my trip and I'm just going to go on it. And that's also, if that's how you want to do it, you could do it that way. But it just takes the steps of actually like booking those things and like making sure you have a plan for when you want to take your vacations. Because like some people don't go on vacations because they just don't have the discipline to plan it out, or they don't take the time to do it. Planning and discipline, I'm telling you, it leads to everything. Discipline is like the foundation of everything good in your life. I'm telling you right now. Okay, I'm behind a little bit, so hold on. I'm behind on these lovely comments. Thank you, Patrick, for that lovely comment. Thank you for that. Mega Giants. This is good. Start a blog, vlog, or podcast, as Brendan Gleeson once said to me when I want to get into the industry as a child. He said, just do it. Don't wait for permission. Send a tweet, email. Yo, for real, right? Deadline, Variety, Hollywood is exactly what I'm talking. Okay, good. So yeah, I mean, you can start as an intern for those places. You can contact them and see how they're hiring, because I don't know, they might have certain I will say, I'll backtrack to what Obi-Wan was saying about like starting a blog, having writing samples. Like if you have your own blog, and then that'll at least speak to your writing style and the fact that you can write. So I think that is a really good route to go on. And then going on their website, seeing what they have. They might have internships available. They might have, freelance spots or something like that. So yeah, I'm someone who becomes more disciplined when I have friends hold me accountable. Accountability is really, really good. I feel like for me, I actually don't like when people try and hold me accountable to my own things, but I am a rebellious, that's my nature, is to be rebellious. I will do the things I want to do for me and not because someone's seeing me do them. But some people have different ways of doing it. They stay accountable because someone else is like, yo, you should be doing this because you said that you would promise that to yourself. But for me, I actually am in the opposite. I don't like when people call me out on my shit. I know what I've done. I know what I've done. Okay, so I don't need anyone making me feel like shit or whatever. But when someone's there to boost you up, that does help. So when someone is there to be like, hey, you didn't do the thing, you said that you wanted to do the thing, so you should do the thing. So having someone else there, accountability buddies are a thing. They don't work for me. They're not going to work for all people. But if that is the type of person you are, making sure that, that is something that you do to make sure you stay disciplined, and making sure that someone's like, yo, did you do the thing today? I should tell Robert Tierney, you should do your push-ups today. Making you stay accountable. Amanda, my first film is this week. I prepped my bag, protein bars, water, along with my Sharpie. Never leave without a Sharpie. It's so funny as an AD. I don't hold all those things on me now. I'm such a bad example for people because I just know all my PAs have Sharpies. So I just like when I need it, I'm like, can I just use your Sharpie really quick? So God bless that you're keeping that Sharpie on you. If I don't have my bag ready the night before, I don't feel right. That's exactly what I'm talking about. For me, the night before I start before I even go to bed or whatever, like I have to make sure all my alarms are set. Now I'm weird because if I wake up before my alarm, I feel like I've accomplished something. If I get done with the thing, like, cause I don't know what anyone else does. I have, I wish I could take it off the thing, but I have my vision board over there and I have no snooze. I was a chronic snoozer, okay? Like I snooze like 4 times in the morning. It's so bad for me because I feel like I'm wasting time, and every time I snooze, I am late. I am running late. I will just get there on time, and that for me, if I'm not there a few minutes early, like at least 15 minutes early, then I'm like, fuck, I'm like behind in a weird way, because then you have to park your car and put my walkie on. It's a whole thing. So for me, like no snoozing is a new thing that I've tried to implement in my life, and it's really definitely changed. It definitely changed how I approach my day and getting out of bed. So if I get out, so in the morning I have like my workout alarm, and then I have like my shower alarm, and then I have an alarm where like I have to leave. This is the like, I don't know if anyone does this. This is how I just stay in it in the morning. But I set my alarms the night before, and then I look in my bag, make sure my walkies are in there, my surveillance is in there. What's the weather like tomorrow? I have all the stuff like, is it going to be cold inside? Is it going to be cold out? Because we've had locations on this job where like the interiors are colder than the outside, which is crazy that we've had this over and over again on my job. But like I have to make sure that, do I have a fleece? What coat am I going to wear? What sneakers? Like it's a whole thing, like weather-wise, making sure I'm ready for the weather. Make sure my bag is ready, and then I'm ready to go. Especially like my water bottle and stuff like that, like what I have in the morning to drink in my car ride on the way there. So definitely I do the same thing, making sure my bag is ready, because if it's not, it does mess up my morning. Absolutely. And then I'm wasting time in the morning prepping my bag where I could be like reading or writing for me instead of like freaking out about like getting my bag ready. And then I forget something. So that's the whole thing. Also Amber met an alum on a gig 2 weeks ago from your in-person class this year. Oh, who was it? Amanda, who was it? This is so great. Brandon Gleason. Thank you. I'm so glad that I can answer questions and stuff. So yeah, if you have questions, please, I welcome all the questions. Just on acting again, actors have different processes. I mean, some create complete backstories and literally become the character. Others go into learn the lines and don't hit the furniture. New York isn't as slow as LA. Feels like the industry here has been crickets work-wise. So here's the thing, and I feel very lucky that I am actually working. Oh yeah, Iggy, that's great. Iggy's on jobs. Yo, that's what's up. Yeah, Iggy, that's good. Because I got him on. He was on my show, so I'm glad he's got other work. It's really weird for like my alumni, because like they are working on other things. I have no idea what they're working on. I just know that they're working, and like I love these little updates that I get sometimes. Sometimes they'll update me. They'll text me personally, like, hey, I'm working on this, and I'm on this. So I love the fact that you are able to meet other alumni on set. I love that. Oh, I love it. So getting back to the work environment in New York or on both coasts is, I mean, there's not as much work as there was before the strike, and it's never going to be that way. So I don't want anyone to think that it's ever going to get to that streaming bubble again, unless another platform or some other form of media comes up where it's like, oh, we have to make all these things again. It's never going to get back to the way it was. So the competition is going to get back to where it was. Because before, I think for a good decade, it was like from like 2010 to 2020, it was like the big streaming boom where everyone and their mother had a streaming service and they were making all these shows. But now the studios have looked at their bottom line and they're like, we're spending all this money. Like, I think it was Netflix for a number of years was spending billions of dollars on production, right? They were spending billions. I mean, and they were making billions, but they were like, their profit margin was very slim. It was very, very slim. So they're like, they're trying to make sure they appeal to their shareholders now. So these big studios are not making the same amount of shows. They're just not. So it is going to be quiet for a while, and I think there's some anxiety about a possible strike with the Teamsters this year. July 31st, the IATSE contract is up, and also the Teamster contract is up. So those two unions are currently going through negotiations. Like the locals have talked, but now like the bigger talks are going to start to happen. And when that starts happening, that's when the anxiety is going to start to go up. So I think June is when we're going to start hearing more and more about that. So people, I think, maybe are like, they don't want to start full on yet because of those two unions in talks for, with the studios, with their contract and stuff. So it's never going to get back to the way it was, but I feel very, very lucky to actually be on a show and working right now. And actually, like, I qualified for my health insurance, thank God, so I think I just made the cut, so I'm very, very grateful. But like, it is slow, and it's going to be slow for the next couple of years, and it's just how it is now. So people, not to be like, make sure you have like that side hustle, like, beyond film school, I gotta like make sure, like, I have no idea what my job's gonna be after the show that I'm on. I have no idea if I'm gonna be hard on something. So yeah, plan B is in the works. I have to make sure that we have to have something going on, you know what I mean? So it is, the work consistency is not going to be the same as it was. And, people who are trying to get into the industry, it's going to be harder. It is going to be harder. So I just want people to know it's not going to be the same. And also for US, since the writers and everyone, it's pretty sad and it's sucky, but like, more and more shows are going to be made overseas. So in the US, it's going to be a little bit more like hard, like, to get on stuff, because more and more things are going to go to Europe, and more things are going to go overseas because it will be cheaper to make them there. So unfortunately, so it's going to get harder in New York and LA. Also, a lot of shows are going to other states outside of New York and outside of LA because it's cheaper. The tax credits are, it's cheaper labor in other parts of the country where you might have a camera operator in New York. It's going to be cheaper to pay that person in Louisiana. So it's other states are going to be utilized, and other countries are going to be utilized when it comes to work in the film industry. I hate saying that, but it's like it is going to not get better work-wise anytime soon. Oh, that's great. So to put it in perspective, HBO spent about $15 million on episode for the final season of Game of Thrones. Let's see, which is exactly how it was in the late 90s, 2000s. Exactly. During the strike, everyone was overseas in Canada or making a BS reality show because it was cheap. Exactly. So reality TV, and I don't know if you've noticed, I watch Survivor, and Survivor was a hour-long program. During the strike, they went to 90 minutes. They went to 90 minutes of programming, and that's because they couldn't fill the slot. They made The Amazing Race, and they made Survivor 90 minutes long. So that took an hour programming away from like something that would have been scripted. So these reality TV shows are going to be here because they're cheaper to make. Even with this crazy prize, whoever wins whatever, the $1 million, or like, I think it's like $250,000 for I can't remember what the Amazing Race prize is, but these prizes that you get at the end of reality shows, there's like, you're like did anyone see the show Trust on Netflix? There was like thousands and thousands of dollars they were just like throwing around. So that puts in perspective of like the amount of money they can throw around for the reality show versus a scripted TV and film. Like, they spend millions of dollars on something that's scripted versus a reality. It's like peanuts. Mainly, and I will say, it does help that there's no crazy main talent that's like taking a $1 million contract, or you're not paying like Julia Roberts $20 million to be on your show or whatever it is, or that movie. So the contestants are like largely, for the most part, like free, right? I know Survivor pays them a certain portion depending on how long they're on that season, but like, it doesn't compare to the amount of money you have to pay top actors. So that is something that also calculates into that. Reality shows are way cheaper to make. Seasons are also cutting down from 22 episodes to 6 part or 10 episodes. This is very, very true. Less episodes. That is very much a thing. Like Organized Crime, Law and Order Organized Crime, they did get renewed, but they're not renewed on the network of NBC. They're on Peacock now. So they went from, I think they usually did 13 episodes, and now they're cut down to 10. So at least they were renewed. At least they're going to have another 5th season, but they have less episodes now. So What about the shows that are on hiatus now? I'm still in contact with my ADs and PPAs. Well, that's good. The shows that are on hiatus, they're on hiatus, and whenever they come back, they'll be hiring you again. Always send it was great working with you text when you're done day playing or staff. The thing is with that, and that, I mean, I don't really, not to criticize and not to be like, yo, Amanda, but I just don't like the default text. I'm a person that realizes when you're sending me some generic bullshit, right? So if you tell me, it was really great working with you, was it? Did you like working with me? Do you remember working with me? You know what I mean? Like, for me, it's like I can tell when someone's being sincere, and I can tell when someone's giving me a generic answer. If you give me that generic answer, I'm going to be like, I probably won't respond. It's kind of, I mean, I will be nice. I'll be nice to my alumni, of course, because they know me. But, like, people who, that random, like, additional PA that I had no FaceTime with, and they're like, hey, Amber, it was really great working with you. I don't what? So for me, it's like, I know what you're doing. It's a networking tactic of making sure that you send something, but like, I feel like it's got to be more than it was. It was just great working with you. It's got to be a little sincere, and I do talk about that in my networking book that I'm writing. I do talk about that, being sincere and authentic, and touching base and connecting with someone, that's fine, but like making sure that you yourself and you're connecting with them, because sometimes you're not going to connect with them. But here's the thing, is that like, if they want to work with you again, they will send you that text. They will make sure. It's like when you want to make sure that you're reminding them that you exist sometimes, but when you just got off a job and you're like, oh, it was great working with you, I just want to make sure that's an honest, sincere thing. Because was it? I'm hoping it was just, you can probably say something a little bit more interesting than it was just great working with you. So that's my criticism of that. The best job on Survivor is the audio department. Talk to a guy who worked on it for a few seasons, the amount of money he got for the gear he needed, gear getting broken and replaced. I don't know. Okay, so Survivor, they had the podcast On Fire. The first season of that podcast is so good because there's an episode that talks about the sound on it, and I love the fact that they have so many people talking at the same time, so many streams of audio, and they are so good with the audio. And like, I think when they're in water too, it's some crazy thing that they use audio-wise, which I love that they talk about. The audio is so important, and I love that this guy has all this cool stuff to make sure the audio sounds great. That's really good that the key sent you something, because I definitely thank my PAs and stuff. I've definitely done it more lately too. So, because lately I haven't really said like, oh, great week, guys, or great day, because I haven't really felt that way, so I don't say it if I don't feel that way. But now I'm like, we put in the work, and I see people working, so I'm going to make sure to give them the feedback they deserve. So why is it important to feed your soul, guys? Because like I said earlier, the film life is going to chew you up and spit you out, and it's not going to care. I hate to say that, but it's like, if you let it consume you, it will. And this is why discipline and making sure you implement the things that you love on a weekly basis, on a daily basis, is super important to feel like you. You want to make sure you feel like you and nobody else. You don't want to have an identity crisis, and it does happen. And I feel like that happened to me like just last week, where like as a second, I deal with background. I'm on set, right? I'm on set proper all the time, and I'm like helping the operators get what they need and clearing the frame and all those things. And like, I'll fill in for the first AD when he walks away or whatever. But for the most part, like, my bread and butter is the background. So I set the background, I do all the cool creative shit with the background, make sure they have things, they cross at certain times, and they're in there, and I make the frame look more interesting and all that stuff. It's setting the scene, right? Selling the world to the viewer I love that. The last couple, week or so, it's been a while since I had some background, guys. But we're in this kind of like in a closed off setting, and it's all just like principal cast, and I haven't been able to set background. So I felt like my identity as a second, I'm like, what am I doing here? Like, I feel like I'm not feeling useful, and that's something for me. Because if I don't feel productive and useful, this is personal to me, I don't know, you may feel this way too. If I don't feel utilized, or I feel like I'm not serving my purpose, I feel a little less like I should, right? I feel not like myself. And all it took was the director and the AD, first AD, saying, hey, yeah, that's all Amber, like, she can do it. And I had to do some things with the principal actors, and I was like running things for a hot minute, and I just felt like myself for a good few minutes, and I was like, okay, back to me feeling like the AD I want to be. So it's all about making sure that you do the things that you like to do to make you feel like you. And that's the point. Like whatever it is, if it's like playing D&D or like going on a hike or whatever, if in the morning you like to drink tea and like draw or sketch or something like that, then do it. Just do it for 10 minutes. I always feel like refreshed and ready for the day when I get to able to do these things. So I don't want everyone to get too into like selling themselves and not selling themselves in that sense, but like selling themselves to the world of film, because it will eat you up and it will consume you when you keep giving your all to the film world, right? It's like, just take a breath. Make sure you do the things you enjoy and that brings you joy. Like, for sure, you have to make sure you do the things. And don't get into the routine of like waking up, going to set, doing 12, 14, 15 hours of work, getting back home and going right to sleep. And I think for some people, when you can be either a morning person or a night person, wherever your habits are, when you truly like to do them then. So for me, like right now I'm on like these splits. I'm on these like overnights too. So I have been getting up, making sure but I'm getting up in the afternoon. Here's the thing, is I try to make sure I get up in the morning and I do the bare minimum of exercising and reading for a few minutes, because I can't get up crazy early in the morning. If I have a 7 a.m. call or an 8 a.m. call, I can't get up that early. You crazy. So then I might implement some of these things after work, right? I might be like, I'm going to write after work, or I'm going to, make sure I do my push-ups after work or whatever. Because sometimes I did do them. I think for 2021, I did 100 push-ups a day for like the first 4 months. I was jacked. It was great. I do not do 100 push-ups a day now. I don't do that. I don't know why. When I'm like, I'm going to try it, I'm going to do 100 push-ups. I just did 10 at a time. I would do like 2 sets of 2 or two sets of 10, and then I would do 10, and then I would try like every hour I would do 10 push-ups, and somehow I ended up at 100. It was great. So I don't want anyone to lose who they are. You have to make sure that you're expressing who you are, because here's the thing, is that for me, when you lose who you are, you don't know how to be yourself on set. And when you're not your authentic self on set, that's when like your networking opportunities go away. And it all ties into each other. If like you are not yourself, if you are lacking motivation and lacking emotion, and you can see that you are not enjoying things, people see that. People see that you are a shell of yourself, or you're not, you're not, I don't know, maybe you're not that great to be around, because you are miserable and because you are not yourself. So it's all about like how to express yourself, because if you lose your identity, you're like, who am I? It's not a great place to be. So these are all small things you can implement to make sure that you feel a little like more like you every day. I go back to the chat. I've heard people do that. Thoughts on meditation. I meditate in the morning and at night. That's really good. I was doing it before I started this job, and I think about it. This is the thing. I've thought about meditating. I've thought about it at least 3-4 times this week, and I'm like, I really do have to spend like at least 5 minutes a day. I got to do at least 5 minutes, right? And I just don't end up doing it. So the fact that it's on my mind, I know that I should do it. And I was doing it for a couple months before the job started. So I think I went to this one spa. I really love like saunas and stuff. I love saunas, and I love steam rooms and all that stuff. And like, there's this Sojo Spa in New Jersey. It's where it's at, guys. I'm just saying. And there's like this other place to go to that's like cheaper, which is great. But I love saunas. So like, I spent like a good half hour meditating. And it was like, I swear, it was a half hour, but it felt like 5 minutes. It was nuts. So, like, meditating is really good for your clearing your mind, getting your thoughts out there, bringing awareness to who you are and what you're doing, and sometimes just clearing your mind. Because meditating, I feel like some people don't understand fully, and they think it's like, you have to clear your thoughts. Like, it's all about, like, acknowledging that thought and what that thought is, and you're like, okay, now, but I'm going to focus on whatever that is. Don't get your soul wet, and don't feed it after midnight. Swim with it and feed it all the time. Look at you. That's a really good like connecting analogy. Oh my goodness. So this weekend, what did I do to feed my soul? See, Rob came back from a golf trip, and then we went out to went out and dinner, and we talked, and that felt really great. That making sure you're connecting with your partner, that's the other thing too. I haven't even talked about relationships when it comes to like your relationship and the amount of time that you spend with your partner, and then like the amount of time you're on set. It's like hard. So when you don't feel connected to your partner, that's also a thing that can make you feel a little drained and not like yourself. Like, I haven't talked to my partner in this. Like, you've done the like the hello, the goodbye, the kiss goodbye, whatever, but you've not really like really had a chat with them, you know. But yeah, this weekend I've done like during the week I do a lot of reading and writing, and then on the weekends I try to do like Beyond Film School stuff, try and hang out with my friends. And that was something I did last weekend where I hung out with my friends I haven't seen in months, but the four of us together, the four of us together, like when we get together, when it happens, because like two of them are moms, one's always working, I'm always working, so the fact that all four of us got together and it was like just laughing and connecting, and like it's different with my friends who are working in film, because we tend to talk about work in film. These are like my friends who are outside of film. Apparently, the film industry people call them normies. My normie friends, like they understand what I do, but not really. But we all have like these different lives. We come together, and it's just like fun to connect. And I was like, it made me feel grateful to still have that foundation of friends where I'm like, I can go and I can spend time with them. I can laugh and be out of my normal routine. So I think that's important to spend time with your friends. And a lot of people are like, I can't make time for my friends because I'm so tired. It's like, be disciplined, try to get as much sleep as possible, wake up and go to brunch or whatever it is. Go to the park, hang out for a few hours, you know? And that was one thing we did. We went to the park and went to Riverside Park in New York, and it was just like, it was a little cold, it was a little chilly, but it was like very, very beautiful out. It was very pretty out, and it was like right near the water. It was lovely. Then we walked to this Mexican restaurant. I mean, it was fun. It was very, very fun. Okay, so what about health, getting appointments with a crazy schedule? This is that's crazy, right? So health appointments, I will say, like, if you're talking therapy, try and get a therapist that will do a Zoom on the weekends. That's a way to do it. As I know, like, BetterHealth is like, not to be like, I hear about BetterHealth all the time, but the fact that they have like flexibility on the weekends. But there are some therapists who work on the weekends and they have like Mondays off or whatever for the people who cannot do something during the week. And then for me, I just had like a doctor's appointment the other day. It was a Zoom consultation thing. It was like my intro thing. So like, take the days off you need to go and do those things. And that's the thing, is like, you must put your health first, because if you're not well, you can't do your job. And if you're dead, you really can't then, right? So a lot of people do neglect their health and their health appointments and like their doctor appointments or their dentist appointments. They're like, I don't have the time. My dentist, actually, they take appointments on the weekend. So I always have my dental cleanings, like it's always like on Saturday or Sunday. Because like it's run, the main dentist is like Jewish, so they take Fridays off, or I think Friday is they take the Sabbath off. I think it's Friday, but either way, they take people on the weekends. So like that, I found a place that took people on weekends. It does take some research, but do not neglect your health appointments. Making sure you go to therapy if you're doing it, which everyone should be going to therapy. I'm sorry, I don't care if you have problems or not. Everyone's got some type of form of trauma, mild or otherwise, that they need to discuss. Okay, they've got things going on in their life that they need to discuss with the therapist. So this is also something that you should be doing, making sure that you're talking to somebody. Just to get another unbiased perspective of opinion in whatever life situation you're in. That's something that you need to keep up with. And making sure, like, women, annual appointments, you need to make sure that's the whole thing. And me having celiac, not to give you, like, TMI about my life, but, like, making sure that my vitamin levels are at certain levels and that they're normal. My iron levels are, that I'm not malnourished and all that stuff. It's something I have to always make sure to keep doing. That's a priority. Your health is a priority. And nothing should overtake that, right? When it comes to, like, I know there's like some people are like religion and then like relationships, and then you're like, no, it should be like your whatever faith it is. Maybe you don't have it, I don't know. And then it's like your physical being, taking care of your body and your health. That is really the main priority. And that's really why for me exercise is a huge thing, because I know that, like, I stand all day long. I'm doing so many steps a day and I'm putting the wear and tear on my body. So if I don't exercise, I feel like crap during the day and I can't do it. So, like, I know my lower back is putting on a lot of stress. Like, my lower back is like, so like, if I don't do my core workouts or something like that, like, I know that. So, like, my body is a priority, and you have to make sure that it is a priority 100%. It is a crazy schedule, but whatever it is, make the time. And no one, I mean, if someone's like, oh, you have a doctor's appointment, Like, they're going to be like, oh, how dare you make a doctor's appointment when you're working? It's like, dude, I'm sorry. Like, you don't know someone's life. Like, if someone's like, hey, I have to come in a few hours late because I have a doctor's appointment, no problem. We'll figure it out. Or you have to leave early because you have a doctor's appointment, you should be fine. But don't be afraid to be like, hey, I have to take this, like, appointment. I need to take this day off to make sure I go to my doctor's. Like, I have to. I sort of meditate when I wash dishes at home, listen to music. Obviously, the dishes need to be done, but I found out 2 of my best friends died when I was, so I spend the time thinking of them. Oh, wow. That's crazy. That's really intense. Yo, Obi-Wan, thanks for sharing that. Oh, my goodness. But that is something where, like, it's really weird because, like, I have had a long commute and I've been, like, on this, like, I need to hurry up and get home. Well, why don't I just, like, take a moment, do something that I enjoy in the car, which is, like, could be listening to the new album from, I don't know, Beyonce or whatever. Or it could be, like, a new book that I'm, listening to and making sure that, like, I'm just like, you know what, this is going to take an hour to get home. I might as well enjoy this hour doing something that I enjoy. So that's kind of like when you are doing your dishes at home and you are thinking about them, you are getting something done, but you're also, like, utilizing that time mentally to connect you with them somehow. So I appreciate you saying that. I've heard there's a high correlation between highly creative people and those who work in film industry jobs. I heard there's a high correlation between highly creative people and those who work in film industry jobs. What do you mean? I don't know why I heard there's a high correlation between highly creative people and those who work in the film industry. I need a little more than that. What do you mean by this? I mean, because I think, like, people who work in film, it makes sense because, like, a lot of people who work in film have many different disciplines. So, I agree with therapy thing. Yeah, stress loads can catch up with you. That is 100%. I think I'm going to wrap it up here, guys. It's been an hour and almost half, but if you have any other questions, please let me know. Dole as people make it. That makes sense because they're like, we're doing a lot, like, it just comes to, like, visual effects, to special effects, to the makeup people, to the hair people, to, the grip team, to, like, I've seen every department utilize problem solving and creativity in everything they do. Even the ADs that I work with, the PAs I work with, like, how to manage all these things. And it's like, I think it's really weird because I've always said that as an AD, I have utilized logistics in a creative way. How to solve these problems that I encounter every day creatively, that's also a thing that I say. And I really think, like, making sure that I can problem solve certain things, and it's not like just set it and forget it, like, oh, this has happened before, therefore I'm going to do it the next time. Well, no, I take it all as it comes, and, like, how do we figure this out in, the best way possible? And it's like, I feel like it does take creativity to do that. Yes, the film industry definitely, like, I think it doesn't matter, like, what department you're in, 100%. So yes. Thanks for making my day yet again, Amber. You are very welcome, Obi-Wan. Thanks for joining me and thanks for watching. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. I don't know when the next live stream is going to be, probably next month. I am going to have my resume review coming up. Gosh, I'm going to look at my calendar, but I don't know. I think it might be happening in June. I haven't done one in April, and I don't think I'm going to make time in May because Memorial Day weekend's coming up, and then I have a friend visiting next week, so I'm not going to do a resume live stream this month, probably sometime in June, because June my show ends and I have a little bit more time on my hands, and then I have my Set PA class in June. I'm very excited, and then I get into full swing of the film challenge come up in July. If you want to join the film challenge, you have to be a Beyond Film School alumni. So that is just, you have to take my online course or the in-person Set PA course to be eligible, because here's the thing, is that I put the teams together because I know people's goals and I know who they are, so it's kind of like I kind of have to know the teams I'm putting together, so it's not just like this big wide open thing that I'm trying to do. So film challenge is coming. I have my Set PA class happening June 22nd that is sold out, but if you want to be on the wait list, you are more than welcome to join the wait list. It's kind of steep right now. I would recommend probably signing up for the February class, but the February class is going to be a little bit different because I'm adding a day of networking. So there's going to be a whole networking type of thing happening. I have a whole plan for my next one because it's President's Day weekend is my next Set PA class, because I don't think I'm going to have another one this year. Standard 2 times a year thing that I try and do. And then also I'm writing this networking book. Hopefully my goal is to get the first draft done by the end of the summer. Maybe, I don't know. I think I can probably shoot for like end of June. Probably I can probably finish the first draft. I don't know. I finished the first part, and the first part was like really hard. And what I'm finding is that writing a book, writing introductions are like the hardest thing to write. It is the hardest thing. All the meat of it all, like, that's fun to write and it keeps me going, but like writing a book is very, very hard. Oh my goodness. So yeah, networking book, hopefully I will be done with it in done, available for people to read to get in like 2025. That is, I'm hoping when I get this book done and like you guys will be able to get it. But it's all about networking and being yourself. Because I feel like people are like, networking? I don't want to fucking network. I don't want to like try and schmooze people and be someone I'm not. It's not about that. It's about being who you are and doing it authentically. And getting where you want to go with being who you are. Because I feel like some people are like, I got to be someone I'm not to make it in film. Please don't go down that route. Please, please, please. Let's see. How to handle depression. Oh, thanks for making it. Okay, how to handle depression, adrenaline come down in between intense projects. Yo, it is... I will say, depression, adrenaline, in between intense projects and shows, that's where I feel like my weekends come into play. Because if it's an intense show or like the week was intense, it's like that means I have to go for a long run. That's where like my longer runs come into play. Gotta use the energy. But also like when I go, I have to go on vacation after I must, whether it's like a week or a month or 10 days or something. I need to go somewhere, have some fun, and travel a little bit. I need to go on vacation after I'm done with every staff show that I'm on. I must. Creative people are all on the project. Okay, that is it for now, guys. I will wrap it up. Thank you for joining me. And if you have ideas about live streams or topics you want covered, please give me an email at beyondfilmschool@gmail.com. That is it.